Welcome back, one and all, to the review series on YouTube that matters most, Monke in Review. Whether the weather be weathered for furry friends across our genetic branches or not, we'll be here to review the best and brightest among us. Today's primate for your consideration is arguably the most famous ape so far in human history, known as the talking gorilla, Koko. Hanabiko, or Koko, was a female western lowland gorilla, born of no particular nobility or promise, like most of us, but what only we could expect to see from her in her life. It would cement her in our history books forever. She was born on July 4th, 1971, and lived until the age of 46, passing on June 19th, 2018. Her birthplace was the San Francisco Zoo, though she lived most of her life in Woodside, California, at the Gorilla Foundation's preserve in the Santa Cruz Mountains. Her name, Hanabiko, means lit, or fireworks child, and is of Japanese origin. You can probably guess, but it's a reference to her date of birth, the 4th of July. Her instructor and caregiver, Francine Patterson, reported that Koko had an active vocabulary of more than 1,000 signs in Gorilla Sign Language, or GSL. This puts Koko's vocabulary at the same level as a 3-year-old human. In contrast to other experiments attempting to teach sign language to non-human primates, Patterson simultaneously exposed Koko to spoken English from an early age. It was reported that Koko understood approximately 2,000 words of spoken English out of the estimated 171,000 that exist, in addition to the signs. As with other great ape language experiments, the extent to which Koko mastered and demonstrated language through her use of these signs is debated. She certainly understood nouns, verbs, and adjectives, including abstract concepts like good and fake, and was able to ask simple questions. She also gained public attention for a report of her having adopted a kitten as a pet and naming him Allball, revealing her ability to rhyme. But it's generally accepted that she did not have an advanced enough intelligence to utilize syntax or grammar. However, she scored between 70 and 90 on various infant IQ scales, and some experts, including Mary Lee Jensvold, claim that Koko used language the same way people do. Koko was the 50th gorilla ever to be born in captivity, and one of the first gorillas accepted by her mother in captivity. Koko remained with her mom until the age of 1 when she was taken to the zoo's hospital to be treated for a life-threatening illness. Patterson, along with Charles Pasternak, originally cared for Koko at the zoo as part of their doctoral research at Stanford after she went into the hospital. Koko was loaned to Patterson and Pasternak under the condition that they would spend at least 4 years with her. Eventually, Koko remained with Patterson and was supported by the Gorilla Foundation, which Patterson founded to support gorilla research and conservation. In 1978, Koko gained worldwide attention when she was pictured on the cover of National Geographic magazine. The cover picture was an image of Koko taking her own picture in the mirror. Koko was later featured on the cover of National Geographic in 1985 with a picture of her and her kitten Allball. At the preserve, Koko met and interacted with a variety of celebrities, including Robin Williams, Fred Rogers, Betty White, William Shatner, Flea, Leonardo DiCaprio, Peter Gabriel, and Sting. Koko's training began at the age of 1, and she had a working vocabulary of more than 1,000 signs, which she was able to communicate in complex ways. Despite her dexterity and literacy, she was never taught how to write. Patterson reported that Koko made several complex uses of signs and suggested a more developed degree of cognition than is usually attributed to non-human primates in their use of communication. For example, Koko was reported to use displacement, the ability to communicate about objects that are not currently present. At age 19, Koko was able to pass the mirror test of self-recognition, which most other gorillas fail. She had also been reported to relay personal memories. Most impressively was her use of meta-language, being able to use language reflexively to speak about language itself, signing "good sign" to another gorilla who successfully used signing. Koko was also reported to use sign language deceptively, and to use counterfactual statements for humorous effects. Patterson reported that she documented Koko inventing new signs to communicate novel thoughts. For example, she said that nobody taught Koko the word for ring, but to refer to it, Koko combined the words finger and bracelet, hence finger bracelet, though throughout all this fun, criticisms existed. Some came from scientists, centered on the fact that while publications often appeared in the popular press about Koko, scientific publications with substantial data were fewer in number. Other researchers argued that Koko did not understand the meaning behind what she was doing and learned to complete the signs simply because the researchers rewarded her for doing so, indicating that her actions were the product of operant conditioning. Another concern that has been raised about Koko's ability to express coherent thoughts through signs is that interpretation of the gorilla's conversation was left to the handler, who may have been liberal with sign meanings. For example, when Koko signed sad, there was no way to tell whether she meant it was the connotation of how sad. Following Patterson's initial publications in 1978, a series of critical evaluations of her report of sign behavior in great apes argued that video evidence suggested that Koko was simply being prompted by her trainer's unconscious cues to display specific signs, in what was commonly called the clever Hans effect. Between 1972 and 1977, Koko was administered several infant IQ tests, including the Cattell Infant Intelligence Scale and Form B of the Peabody Picture Vocabulary Test. She achieved scores in the 70s to 90 range. According to Patterson, however, it is specious to compare her IQ directly with that of a human infant because gorillas develop locomotor abilities earlier than humans, and many IQ tests for infants require mostly motor responses. Gorillas and humans also mature at different rates, so using a gorilla's chronological age to compute their IQ results in a score is not very useful for comparative purposes. Researchers at the Gorilla Foundation said that Koko asked for a cat for Christmas in 1983. Ron Cohn, a biologist at the foundation, explained to the Los Angeles Times that when she was given a lifelike stuffed animal, she was less than satisfied. She didn't play with it and continued to sign sad. So, on her birthday in July 1984, she was able to choose a kitten from a litter that was abandoned. That's when she met and named a gray male Manx Allball. Patterson wrote that Koko cared for the kitten as if it were a baby gorilla. Researchers said that she tried to nurse Allball and was very gentle and loving. They believed that Koko's nurturing of the kitten and the skills she gained throughout playing with dolls would be helpful in Koko's learning of how to nurture an offspring. Tragically, in December of that year, Allball escaped from Koko's cage and was hit and killed by a car. Later, Patterson said that when she signed to Koko that Allball had been killed, Koko signed bad, sad, bad, and frown, cry, frown, sad, trouble. Patterson also reported later hearing Koko making a sound similar to human weeping. In 1985, Koko was allowed to pick out 2 new kittens from a litter to be her companions. The animals she chose, which she named Lips and Smokey, were also Manxes. The Gorilla Foundation also briefly played home to a male green-winged macaw parrot of mysterious origin who had been found inhabiting the grounds and feeding on the trees. Though she was not a pet of Koko in the same way her cats were. Initially frightened by the parrot, Koko named him Deviltooth, devil presumably coming from him mostly being red, and tooth for his fierce-looking white beak. The human staff adjusted the name to Devil Beak and ultimately to DB. In celebration of Koko's birthday in 2015, she was presented another litter of kittens. This time picking 2, she named them Miss Black and Miss Gray. So this is a weird one. Koko was reported to have a preoccupation with both male and female human nipples, with several people reporting that Koko requested to see their nipples. However, in 2005, 3 female staff members at the Gorilla Foundation filed lawsuits against the organization, alleging that they were pressured to reveal their nipples to Koko by the organization's executive director, among other violations of labor law. Yeesh. The lawsuits were settled out of court. Gorilla expert Kristen Lucas has said that other gorillas are not known to have that kind of nipple fixation, so it makes you wonder if that was really Koko's fixation or not. After Patterson's research with Koko was completed, the gorilla moved to a reserve in Woodside, California. At the reserve, Koko lived with another gorilla, Michael, who had also learned sign language, but he died in 2000. She then lived with another male gorilla, Nadum, until her death.
We were fortunate to have access to videotapes at that time of males that needed to be placed, and Koko would watch them. And what she ended up doing was kind of thumbs up, thumbs down. If she liked the gorilla, she would stare at the screen. She would ask for us to play it again and again. And if she had access to the screen, she'd kiss the screen or sign love.
Have you been looking at the gorilla? Gorilla Koko loves. You looking? Okay.
One of the greatest and final acts Koko performed for us humans was titled Koko as the Voice of Nature. It was a speech in sign language made for the 2015 Paris Climate Conference. Koko died in her sleep in the morning of June 19, 2018, at the Gorilla Foundation's preserve, at the age of 46. The Gorilla Foundation released a statement, quote, "The impact of her life has been profound, and what she has taught us about the emotional capacity of gorillas and their cognition abilities will continue to shape the world," unquote. Even though Koko was 46 years old, when she died, her death took staff members of the Gorilla Foundation by surprise. It can be argued that had Koko lived in Spain or Japan, she might not have been as famous as she was. But I think about her personality, care for kittens, and aptitude with language, that was what allowed the world to know about her story and see her life. She lived by many accounts the best and fullest life a gorilla in captivity could live. And with that, I shall say this has been another episode of Monke in Review. Make sure to like and subscribe to spread the sacred word of monkeys far and wide. I've been your host and ambassador of Primate Nation, Jovan. As always, I appreciate your time, wish you nothing but monkey love in your life, and wish you all sleep well, fellow primates. Until next time, bye-bye.